I was an engineer, and in 2008, lost my job due to the economic collapse. Jobs were scarce. I didn't know where to turn to get help updating my resume. Online services and coaches charge hundreds, even thousands of dollars. I took matters into my own hands and learned how to craft interview-winning resumes. Shortly later, I landed a job with a Fortune 500 company. I have helped many achieve similar success. Now I share my tips to create interview-winning resumes, interviewing excellence, and high-performance growth strategies on my podcast, Career Growth Made Easy. Welcome back to the Career Growth Made Easy podcast. I'm your host, Craig Ansell. Today, we're talking about your dreams and ambitions. As I'm out and about, I run into a lot of people. Some ask what I do. Sometimes, though, I initiate sharing if the environment is right. Others share sometimes about their dreams and ambitions. When I tell them of my free podcast, there's initial excitement, and some of them swear they're going to listen and write into the show and leave comments. You know what? I truly appreciate that. So, as we enter into today's episode, I'm going to ask you directly, what are your dreams? What dreams do you have? What ambitions? How about this one? Ooh, what goals do you have? Those can be some tricky questions. You might have dreams, ambitions, goals that are for the moment, for the day, the week, the month, the year, for your life. Or do you live day to day? Do you struggle to survive the day? Or do you embrace each day as a blessing, a chance to make a difference in the world? On the other hand, what about those that fail to act? In the last month, I've met several passionate ladies that for different reasons wanted to start a podcast. One, the most recent that I met, was repeatedly told, you should start a podcast. You'd be great at it. So I delved into why. I was curious. Was it her knowledge, her passion, her voice, her energy, maybe her storytelling abilities? Did she have certain hobbies or skills? I politely said, tell me more. I'm intrigued. After I heard some of her information and background, I was, of course, supportive. Then she went on to say she didn't know how to start a podcast. Or I think another reason was, isn't it expensive though? What about technology? So she had the right person in her audience, and we talked through it. I told her there's some really low-cost ways to get involved and to overcome challenges, and the technology, with a little bit of training, you can handle that too. It's possible that she could make her podcast a reality and write quick. So, in closing with her, I shared my business card, and I even offered a 15-minute complimentary coaching session on the topic. As I'm going on my third year of podcasting, there have been a lot of trials and a lot of errors with podcasting. Even though it's audio only, and I don't have to mess with lighting and camera angles and backgrounds and flashing and all the stuff, the blurring the background, what's in the background, if you're going to take any photos, the flashes, how the shadows, none of that. I didn't have to mess with any of that because it's just audio. There is still so much to do. It can seem impossible. It can seem like that hurdle's just so large and so big that you're never going to cross it, but I did. Were there some podcasts I wish the content was a little bit more strongly connected? You bet. Were there some podcasts where I felt, this is a great story, but is it really going to touch someone? And then I met that random person when I was out and about, and they told me about that particular episode. It really touched them. It really helped them to move forward. It gave them value. And those are the moments that are special in our lives, that we get feedback, we get that encouragement, that grace, that gift just to move on. It's just a gentle tap on the back saying, good job, move forward. Rewinding back a few more weeks, I was on the way to a professional speaking engagement, and it was for the company Sandvik, which is a medical manufacturing company. They're now called Alleima. On the way there, I stopped at a restaurant for a break. Upon checkout, I ran into a cashier that was just flowing with energy, a bright smile, cheery, high-energy person. And that day, while traveling, I happened to wear a t-shirt. This particular t-shirt said, "Ask me about my podcast." And let me tell you, it works. Nice, bold, tall font letters, "Ask me about my podcast." So she did. We had a fantastic conversation about the trip I was on, also what the podcast was about, and how I'm hoping and praying to help others and bring value to your lives. So after I shared my background and my content for my podcast, she shared she too was very interested in a podcast, not only with her, but her best friend. She said it's been on her mind for quite some time, and she was really excited to do it. So I'd asked how long she's been thinking about starting a podcast, and it seemed relatively indefinite, like it was on her heart for quite some time. Well, I took that opportunity to seize the moment and say, "Hey, if you'd like, here's a business card. I'd like to offer you a complimentary 15-minute session, similar to the other young lady I mentioned that I had just met. I was willing to help her and her friend get kick-started." Some things that we do for the first time can cause our brains to go into fight or flight mode. It's where we become protective. The brain doesn't recognize something new that we're doing, and it's cautious. Its job is to protect us. Like a story I've recently told while I was out coaching, it's back to the hot stove. You can tell your child over and over, "Don't touch the stove, it's hot," or "The stove's hot," and that child may or may not test the boundaries. It could result in a light burn, a near miss, or a serious accident. But one thing's for sure, once you feel the heat of that stove and the intensity, you're not likely to make the same mistake twice. So, with that said, we do have a good protectionary function in place with our brains, protecting us from day-to-day activities, risks, concerns, possible accidents or injuries. But it can also hurt us when it comes to new experiences and new adventures. It can ramp up our anxiety. It can cause us to be concerned or even become afraid of doing something new. And that can that can squash our dreams, squash our ambitions. It's okay to dream. Absolutely, I recommend it. And it's okay for sure to have ambitions. Some of us will have stronger dreams and ambitions than others, while some will just have a gentle tugging, a pulling at their heartstrings, saying, "Someday I'd like to do that." And honestly, that's part of sales and marketing too. When you watch your shows and you see ads about really beautiful vacation settings, it could be a sunrise, sunset, a surf if you're into beach going. It could be a beautiful mountaintop view, snow, whatever the case may be, waterfalls. You get the point. Those memories make us dream, and the dreams can cause us to become interested in making things a reality. But something such as a podcast, when I first attempted to start, I'll tell you, yes, it was difficult. I struggled. I barely knew how to plug in the microphone. Sure, it was just another USB device, but after that, what happens? Where does the audio go? How do I record? How will I have clear audio? How do you regulate the volume level? There are so many questions I had. But today, those questions have now been answered. So, with this interface I had with this other young lady, she and her best friend wanted to start a podcast. I offered the opportunity to share what took me easily 3 months to kind of get the bugs worked out, to distill it down into 15 minutes, maybe 30 minutes of a discussion. I was willing to help her because I saw the passion, the smile, the twinkle in her eyes. Unfortunately, it's been about a month, and I haven't heard from her. If you're listening, please email me like we discussed. In fact, if either of you ladies are listening and you both have my card, please email me. I want to make that commitment come true, and let's have that 15-minute brainstorming session. I will be able to download 3 months or more of all my mistakes, but also all the lessons learned. I've turned these lessons into best practices. In fact, for you other listeners out there, if any of you have an ambition, if you have a dream to start a podcast, maybe a YouTube channel, For YouTube, no, I am not your go-to guy. But since YouTube uses audio and there's a lot of software out there and a lot of recording content that you need to figure out how to activate and how to synchronize with your computer, I certainly can help you there from a podcast standpoint. If there's enough interest in people, my listeners, you, wanting to start a podcast, I would love to put a small group together and maybe do a quick webinar or something like that, completely free, just to walk you through my trials, my tribulations, and how I overcame. This is partly about starting a podcast, yes, today's show, your dreams, your ambitions. But it's also about reminding you that you can overcome. You too can get to the other side. Whatever that goal is, whatever that hurdle is, you can overcome it. I was speaking to someone recently, in fact, it was a coaching student, and I had asked them, do you know how we're going to overcome this? It's like eating the elephant. Have you ever heard that phrase? The elephant's so large, it's going to be difficult to eat. But if you break the elephant down and do one bite, one piece at a time, you'll eventually overcome it and you'll eventually eat it, meaning you'll overcome your challenge, you'll get past that hurdle. Okay? That's just an old saying, but the elephant represents something that each of us are trying to strive toward and overcome. Our goal, our dream, our ambition. And when you look at it from a distance, it can be so large. And then as you start to approach it, it even gets bigger. Is that possible? Elephants compared to humans are huge, to say the least. Their weight, their size, their strength, their energy. It's amazing, the size of an elephant. But that elephant again can represent a challenge for us. So sit back today and think just for a moment, what elephants, what challenges, what hurdles do you have in the room today or that's on your plate? If you've been listening to me for some time, you know I don't recommend to-do lists. To-do lists can be daunting, can be challenging. They come with a bit of negativity because it's automatically saying you have to do this. Turn your to-do lists into task lists. These are tasks. These are actions that I need to complete to get on with my day, to overcome. With that said, what are your particular dreams and ambitions? And furthermore, what is holding you back? If there's something that you're struggling with, something that I can help with from a career growth coaching aspect, whether it's personally, professionally, or both, please contact me. You can contact us on social media at Craig Ansell for Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. You can always email me directly, craig@craigansell.com. And please visit our website as well, craigansell.com. We have one-on-one coaching sessions that you can schedule. There are some master classes to help you in your professional lives. And also, if you're working in an office or corporate setting, I welcome the opportunity to work with you as I did with a recent company, Sandvik, now called Alleima, and I was able to speak for 2 hours at a team building event. Not only did we bring a fun, entertaining environment, but it was a great time to share and learn. There's many things that we are plagued with in our daily lives, especially our work lives, such as email overload, being efficient at our jobs, and simply, we run out of time on every day. We wonder, where did the time go? And the next thing you know, it's time to clock out or time to shut down the computer. So if you're struggling personally, professionally, in your office environment, your team environment, with time management, email overload, know that there is help. I can help you get through your day more effectively and more efficiently with proven techniques. After coaching, the feedback is generally very positive, and you can put some of these activities, some of these functions into place right away to see immediate return on your investment. So no matter what your needs are, whether we can help you at craigansell.com or you go elsewhere and you have needs that other professionals are going to help you with, don't let your dreams and ambitions flame out. Don't let the wick smolder. Keep your fire burning. Keep your energy alive and keep the focus on what's important to you. If there are barriers, hurdles in the way, if that elephant's standing right in front of you and you just can't pass, break it down into bite-sized pieces. Whatever that challenge is, whatever that issue is, seek help. If you're in a work environment, talk to a peer. If you don't feel comfortable talking to peers, talk to people in other groups if you have a large company. Potentially talk to your supervisor or management team. Think about what you're going to say and try to couch the words, the phrase, the story in the most positive way. Although you're having a challenge, think about ways that you can bring up the challenge and ways that you might come up with a resolution. In a prior show, I had talked about reading a book, and I think it was related to FBI and negotiations. And one of the statements made, if I was the one that always had people come into my room and say, hey, we have a problem, and I would solve it for them, what am I teaching them? I'm teaching them that I have the solutions at hand. What I want to do is teach my employees to come not only with a problem or challenge, that's fine, they're going to exist. We need to meet them, we need to face them and solve them. But when you come with that problem, come with at least one solution, one idea. That way, when you broach the topic of, hey, we have an issue with this, or hey, I have a struggle or challenge with that, you have already thought of at least one solution. It may not be the solution that gets implemented. It could be impractical. It could be too costly. It may take too long. Those are all negative statements. However, it's possible that by you starting to think about the solutions, you will eventually solve the problem before you enter your supervisor or manager's office. And that's what happened in this one example of a book that I read. Eventually, the employees, the staff members, on the walk to the office started solving things, and this particular manager stopped seeing as many questions coming into his office because his team was becoming self-sufficient. He was there for leadership, he was there for guidance, coaching, mentoring, but the team was becoming more well-oiled, thinking on their own and solving the day-to-day problems. And that's what we want. Again, if you're struggling and you need help, reach out. There are many, many resources out there. But if you break down the problem into bite-sized pieces, you might be able to accomplish it after a few days, weeks, months, years. It all depends on how big your dreams, your ambitions are. You too can accomplish what seems to be impossible. I am Craig Ansell. I have been your host of today's episode, Your Dreams and Your Ambitions. This has been the Career Growth Made Easy podcast. Please give us your feedback on social media at Craig Ansell, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. I would love for you to subscribe, and furthermore, please share the word. This is our year that we want to grow the word on our podcast, grow our help base. The podcast is completely free, and we do this so that we can give back to our friends, to our community, and grow our network. You never know the need you'll have, and you never know, someday I may have a need, and a listener may come to the rescue just by having a conversation. It could be as a guest interview, or it could be on someone else's podcast. So please, share the word about Career Growth Made Easy. Share the word on social media about how we may have helped you. We're always open for your honest and open feedback so that we can improve. Hope you have a wonderful day ahead. I will talk to you next week. Peace. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to our channel. New episodes every Monday. In the meantime, why don't you follow us on social media at Craig Ansell on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. To book a coaching appointment, download our free guides, or join our email list, check out the links in the description below.